Oh, this is Near Enough to Hell, a Ghost of El Paso story, part 20. We are picking up with the Siege of El Paso, where we left off. We're in the day phase. Let's take a look at our hunters. Mother Ruth Calvo is most beloved and has the condition fornicator. Graves has death touch as always, as well as an omen of the Vrykalakas. Diamond Dave McMahan has on my best behavior, and Marshal Andrew Harrington has no conditions whatsoever. As a reminder of what the Siege of El Paso is all other threats are on pause. And this is now the only thing you are investigating. In Zechariah Waitley, the fourth ranger, or rather the fifth ranger, remember the fifth ranger rode into town this morning and announced that if the town of El Paso does not turn over the three important witnesses to Edward's hanging by sundown, they will lay siege to El Paso and ransack it and kill who they got to kill. As a reminder of who the three witnesses are, it is. Oh, hold on. I closed the tab. I know it was Agatha Edwards, Doc Albers, and what is the lady's name from the Boy in Blue?
Miss
Alma
Stackpole?
Stackpole. Thank you. Yes, Alma
Yeah.
Stackpole. Those are the three witnesses to Edward's hanging. Because as you'll remember, based on the conversation Graves had with War, the old newspaper was that Doc Albers is the one who pronounced Edward dead. Agatha Edwards wrote the article about the horse thief who was hanged. And Alma Stackpole, her family was the one who owned the horse ranch that he took it from. So we are entering the day phase. The question for the Siege of El Paso is how can we defend the town of El Paso from attack? That is a complexity 8. You have until the end of this day phase to answer this question, and the siege itself lasts until the end of the night phase. So we begin. The town of El Paso is in a panicky uproar. Let's find out what people are interested in tackling to investigate this. This is effectively finding ways to better defend the town. Mother Ruth, I would imagine your congregation, like I imagine like there's going to be like a gathering at your church, and like it is just like a panic. So what are you going to be tackling to help defend the town?
Um, hmm.
And everyone here, as per the just to make sure it's formalized, we're doing the rigid. You each get two endeavors you can pursue during this day phase. Two actions, effectively. You can do two things. Now that doesn't mean two roles. That just means two things you can pursue. Um, but depending on roles, I might shorten that. So yes, Mother Ruth.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. The Red Rock Cantina is in a basement, right?
No, the cantina is it's a two building structure.
It's a two
There's the
building
dance hall
structure.
and the
Okay.
cantina. Yeah.
Okay.
But they do have
Okay.
basements.
They do have
And
basements.
and we've already established with the Daisy Man that there's tunnels that go all underneath El Paso, and that Diamond Dave has been using them to smuggle things to El Paso del Norte.
Mm-hmm.
So
Got it.
there's that, the tunnels.
So, Mother Ruth Calvo is an old woman. Um, a hammer in her hand is not going to work as well as it would in like somebody that's a little bit more sturdier, like the Marshal. Um, so what I'm going to do, looking over my moves,
Mm-hmm.
um,
it's been a few weeks since
yeah,
we played. Yeah, I get it.
and we're allowed two things to do.
Effectively, yes. Rigidly, two things you're allowed to do. Two endeavors in the town of El Paso.
Well, I'm going to need to steel myself, and I'm going to need to prove that I am a like stalwart, like somebody that people can rely on. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to go to Mother Ruth Calvo. She has a room that's in like the back of the church.
Hmm.
It's practically a closet, and it's
Oh
like
yeah,
there's like a place to pray and everything. That you can see that there's like there's just like a Bible on a plinth, and there is a place to put your knees.
I love
Um,
it.
and so she is going to sit there and go and in Dutch just proclaim, Dear Lord, I apologize for how I have failed ye. I believe that I have done these things in service to you, but I have allowed my own guilt, my own like that kind of thing of like I have allowed my own selfishness to get in the way of others. Um, and I will like strive to be a testament to these people. That whole thing of just like, I have failed you, I have faltered, and I'm just gonna pray so hard right now. I'm praying super hard because I
It's
don't want
like
anybody to
got
die.
the rosary pressed in your hands and blood starts to drip out from how
Yeah,
hard you're pressing into
exactly.
it. Incredible. We'll get back to that scene as we continue to explore the other hunters, but I love that. Graves, on your end of things, how
I
do you
want to
want to do this?
I want to talk to my sibling War.
Makes sense. Talk to War. Diamond Dave.
I think for my two, one would be the tunnels, and the other would be I'd like I like somebody like Marcus Penrose to that we actually find out, that they're actually maybe a badass or something.
Marcus Penrose, who works for you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's one of mine.
he's oh that's right. He's the gentleman of the evening. That is
Yep.
correct. Okay, you're gonna go poke around the smuggling tunnels and also or the old silver mining tunnels that are smuggling tunnels and utilize hopefully Marcus Penrose's services. Marshal Harrington, you out of everyone here probably have your hands quite full.
Quite full. I will, however, note that I am not the only law
You are
enforcement
not.
in town. So I will be making use of Jimmy Pike, who was an old Texas Ranger, and we're going to try to calm people the fuck down because we need to be able to get them organized in a rather fast way.
What's Deputy Dudley up to?
Deputy Dudley is making sure that no one tries to like get uh into the jail while I'm
Mm-hmm.
gone out on the streets
Gotcha.
because people like regardless of whether or not the fact that if like anyone's in the jail, someone will try to break into it because like, oh, if I can break into it, then I can get a key. So like when I
Makes
do
sense.
crimes later, then I can break out of it. And it's
Love
like
it.
I'm like, please, Dudley, I don't need you to do much, but I need you to just stay in my office and make sure that no one breaks in.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off then. Let's start with Mother Ruth's praying scene here. So, since you had gone into the back and you had clutched your rosary so firmly that your hands are pierced and a little bit of blood begins to trickle down, I'm imagining it is stigmata pierced just in the exact dead center of your palm that we can't see. Yeah, exactly. Little blood droplets coming out here. And I think what I want you're asking God, you're praying, invoking God for, I guess, would you say you're asking more for forgiveness or guidance?
Uh, it's not forgiveness or guidance. It is essentially offering up her absolution for to to allow her to be a guide for these people.
Right.
Essentially, she's
It's
trying to she knows that there's nothing physical. There's nothing like there's
mhm.
nothing material on this world that in her mind, there's nothing material in this world that could save them from this siege. And so she is trying to lay the religious groundwork.
It does sound like, however, like reading it here, you have triggered Gethsemane. Um,
Yes.
so when you go to a place of solitude and express regret for your morally reprehensible deeds out loud, roll with presence.
Hmm.
And because
Absolutely.
this move is related to you clearing the condition that I think you're aiming to clear here, I'm not going to have it give you disadvantage. because
Yeah.
that would be dumb because you're literally seeking absolution from
I'm
it.
accepting the fact
You're
that
accepting
that's
it.
what
It's
I
not hindering
am.
you. Yeah, exactly. You're open to this.
Okay. I'm open to this.
Hot dice, hot dice.
Hot dice, hot dice. I'm going to use the switchblade crucifix to pierce my hands for stigma on it now.
I was like, oh shit. Okay, cool.
Look at my hands, feel them, know that I am me. I am your lord that you speak of. Okay, not bad with a +2. We're looking at an 11.
This is 10 plus. Well, first of all, on a hit, you may clear relevant conditions. So you may clear fornicator, and on 10 plus, no one overhears you. Which damn it all.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us then about, as Mother Ruth, you are kneeling there praying, how you feel this weight lift off of your shoulders and what it is you feel you must do next as guided by God. If you need a moment to think on, go ahead.
Dear Heavenly Father, I approach to you not as a leader or a shepherd, but as a lamb whose woolen coat has been soaked with sin, stained by the ash of damnation. I approached a sinner, a dead man, upon his back and laid with him, and instilled within him his necrotic seed, to further him along, to push him from this place, to ease his torture, but also ease the torture of others. I know where this now stems from. I am a sinner. I have a wandering eye. And I have a heart that yearns. And in these, my neighbor, I covet on a day-to-day basis. When I approached El Paso, I was taken in by the Wilsons, foolish Mormons who are led astray by their own shepherd. But I saw things that I missed. I saw how Miss Wilson was tenderly appreciated by her husband. She raised her family. She was given this opportunity to keep a home, to cook, to clean. In my weakness, I thought that I would never have something such as that. I thought that I would be kept barren, alone, and cold in my bed for years to come. But I did not recognize what lied before me. An opportunity to not be a mother to just a few children, but to all. To open my home and my arms, and to not covet, and to not sin. And I ask for your cleansing love to shower upon me. And I would like to mark a Mask of the Past to bump that up to a 12 plus, please.
Oh my gosh. And there's a 12 plus result in Gethsemane?
There's not, but I'm hoping that I get an advantage based on this roll, just because I'm praying super fucking hard.
Okay. I like your gumption. Well, you see, Wes, there's not a 12 plus result, but I'm going to allow it because that fucks.
Okay. And I'm going to narrate, I narrated a flashback to when I first arrived in El Paso, who made me feel like an imposter. And that was Miss Wilson from my previous homestead. So now, 2 masks. I'm a 2-masked Timmy.
2-masked Timmy.
Why you do this, Wes? Why do you do this to us?
Because it's for the good of the town.
Good of the town.
It's for the good of the town.
Did you want to narrate that now or hold off?
I did narrate that.
Oh, you did?
Oh, well, I weaved it into the prayer.
Oh.
Yeah. Very, very calm. Very smart. You can do that.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, because I like your gumption with asking me about this, but I'm not going to make it easy for you. I'm going to say, well, that's a lie. This is kind of easy for you. Well, first of all, you may clear fornicator, but I think what the boon I'll give you here, it's more of the narrative boon than any mechanical one, is to say that I'm going to give you a new condition that can be cleared at any time to do a thing, which is you can take the condition, the guidance of God, or the word of the Lord, however you want to phrase it. And I think you may clear this at any time to declare that something in the scene is an omen from the Lord, and it will count as a clue.
Perfect. We're going to put it in Dutch just for the Dutch girlies watching.
The Dutch
guidance of
watching.
the here.
Ooh,
Guidance of the
guidance
here.
of the here. Meanwhile, Marshal Harrington.
Having a good time.
Having a good time. Jimmy Pike, or should I say the recently deputized Deputy Jimmy Pike, is accompanying you. Where do we find the two of you right now? Where are you focusing your efforts in this scene?
I think because we need information getting out to the people pretty fast and whatnot, I think we are at the El Paso
El Paso
like
Times?
it's El Paso
Oh,
Times. So
yeah. I love
because
it.
even like they may not be able to get printing out, they'd still like have like a lot of journalists who can like just get out and like weasel out this sort of information. Sort of like I think Marshall Harrington is sort of talking with like some of the heads and like is having Jimmy Pike also just repeat like this information just to like make sure like this is like confirmed with what he's saying and and then having a backup to like just say what he's saying and whatnot. So yeah.
I think when you walk inside the El Paso Times, it is a fucking tempest of activity. Like there are, of course, the employees who are like freaking the fuck out, but Agatha, despite being a central figure in this morning's ordeal, seems to be localized in the eye of the storm here. She has like several stacks of like paper and like various like clippings, and like you can hear people like frantically pulling out like old like notes and stuff as she's kind of created this sort of like Western murder board clue like stack of her just like going over things. Like you see Agatha is like freaking the fuck out, but in the most like neurotic journalist way possible, as she's being like it's like of course, I should have seen it the whole time. Edward Reynolds, the conductor underneath the Reynolds train planning company, is the very same man who was hung 12 years ago. She's like rambling and talking to herself and like barking out orders to pull things, and does not seem at all fazed by the fact that she has been informed that if she does not fucking die today, the town's gonna be sacked. She's like, she's like, this is the story of the century as far as she's concerned. And when she sees you and Deputy Pike enter, she snaps and points, not at you, but at Pike, and says, James Pike, I was hoping for an exclusive interview on your experience with the Ghost Riders. Now, what can you tell me about this mysterious 5th Ranger, Zechariah Waitley? And immediately begins to like write down notes before an answer is had. And like Jimmy Pike just goes, it just like looks at you, very flustered by this woman.
I shake my head about like the interview. Agatha.
Marshall. Oh, good morning.
Good morning. I figured that the more pressing concern is about the safety of the town, including yourself.
What? Oh, yes, of course, obviously. But I understand my place in the town, Marshall. I understand that where you and your own are best suited to engaging in this sort of thing, and I will be the first to proclaim that I'm very excited to see how the Vigilance Committee handles such a task. I also understand my place in these affairs are to stay out of the way and to report on the truth as it unfolds, to maintain a true and accurate unfolding of events, especially in the event of my untimely demise.
True and accurate information. However, I think due to the nature of your business, as it were, you are one of the most primed members of our community to get information out as quickly as possible. Because, well, frankly, this must be obvious at this point, but we do not intend to hand you over to the Reynolds, but rather to keep you safe. So
she does this really kind of like theatrical, over the top, sarcastic, like, woo! And she's like, well, that is a relief.
Yeah. Amazing. I know. Wonderful. But however, still, people are panicking in the streets, and I think that your crew of people could calm those people down and help move them when the time comes.
Move them?
Yes.
Marshall, do you not understand that if this town is to face some sort of dire peril at sundown, if we do not have all of the requisite information in place, if this town is a ruin come sunup, what will be found if we don't have a true and accurate archive of the events that led up to our demise? How will the people of the world know what happened here? And you want me to pull my good men and women off the line to manage a situation that is very much within your purview? Can I quote you on that? And she begins to take notes.
You can quote me on this. If people do not survive this, no one will be around to read your paper.
I think you can give me the information move with presence.
Do I
try
have...
and pull forth? You have 3 presents, my guy.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay. I'll just roll it flat then. Okay, that's an 11.
An 11.
I will note that Jimmy Pike, because he's assisting me in law enforcement matters, gives me an additional clue.
What? No way. That's not a mechanic.
Yeah, it says right here, Jimmy Pike, +1 clues in regard to law enforcement.
Yeah, I know. I did make that happen, didn't I? This is awesome. This is great. And because it says when you seek his counsel, I like the idea that we're a little flexible here because he is offering his own like insight to help this as well. Okay, so you'll get 2 clues from this. God damn.
We only have a day phase.
Yes, you do. Okay, I'm gonna give you 2 clues from this scene. And first of all, the base clue is keeping in line with what you said. Agatha Edwards ultimately does volunteer to help like spread information effectively throughout the town. Like she does agree to like that she will help. Like the El Paso Times reporters will keep information moving throughout El Paso. That's your first clue. The second clue comes of the hectic scene we've laid here. Like looking, I think like Jimmy Pike like just like steps away while that conversation is going on between you and Agatha, and he just kind of like looks over at like the assorted like pinned up board of all the different like articles and writing that she's done over the years, and he like squints as he starts to realize that there's something like a pattern in this. And he like follows it along, and like you and Agatha are speaking like heatedly over his shoulder, so you don't hear him the first time when he goes, Marshall, and then he like turns around and goes, Marshall.
Yes.
I think you're gonna want to take a look at this. And he like, you join him, and it takes you a moment to see it as well, but as he points out, Agatha has been over the years so thorough in her journalism of like every event in El Paso that has like transpired, like down to the fucking like wire. Like there's are like her notes on like, let's say like some like it's effectively like you realize that this is like a town map composed of like the various notes, because she's like scrawled like this happened here, according to this witness, like this happened here. It's effectively a massive reconstruction of like every perspective of El Paso on major events over the years, and you pin down like based on this information like a really good spot for an ambush in this town. Like, like where like the ins and outs of this town are because of her. So you get a good spot for an ambush courtesy of Agatha's notes. And then Agatha just like, she just kind of gives this like little smug little smile as Jimmy kind of looks at her somewhat astonished. And she just says, it's like, the truth really writes itself. And she like sips from her coffee. Diamond Dave. As there is chaos on the streets above, you are in the tunnels below. What are you hoping to accomplish down here as you're navigating with lantern light?
We see it's Diamond Dave. He's not carrying a lantern.
Oh, okay.
He's probably like playing around with a gun or something, like loading it. But with him with lanterns is Marcus and Alan. And Alan is carrying like a huge chest, and he has like some chairs tied to his back. Like he's a big guy, but like Diamond Dave's got him loaded up. And Marcus is down here. I like to picture Marcus like he's not wearing any shoes, but he's got really tight pants and like a loose fitting open shirt instead of his normal like gown that he
Well, I
wore.
believe because you're mentioning Alan's present in the scene, you do need to roll for Have You Met My Associate to see if you're able to get at him in all the chaos today.
Oh, okay, sure.
Because it is just, you know, when you put out word that you need help from real connection, you still need to
I kind of thought that once you called him out, you called him out, but that's cool.
No, it's just because I think in the fiction here, it makes sense that because of all the business, it's like Alan's on a local and you'll need to like see if you find him.
I got a 9, and with the presence, that'll be 10.
Okay, yep, they show up right away and do as you wish. So, yep, as you said, Alan is down here with the chair and everything.
I was thinking about calling Thalia, but I don't know how much. Yeah, anyways. So he's all loaded up, and Marcus has got a lantern, and Diamond Dave seems like he's pretty accustomed to these tunnels, and they look way like cleaner, and the edges are a lot neater than he remembered. But anyways, he's going to a room with all this stuff, and the room when he opens it up, the door opens it up. Uh, it looks like it's like all the stuff we've seen below the Red Rock Cantina has been pretty sketchy, and this is sketchy too. And it kind of has like the ick of like human trafficking, maybe. But he's like, let's try to put all that stuff down there. Let's try to clean this up. Look, guys, Mrs. Stackpole has got like taste, and I don't want to get her down here and it looked like a dungeon. And so but so he's doing all that, and then he's like looking. There's got this. This is like an old mining. Can we get like some reinforced doors? So he's just like looking to see like how we can like defend this place.
Yeah, give me an information move with reason as you spend time like kind of picking through, like looking for like the most effective materials that are left down in tunnels.
I want to use an item for this. All I have is the chains and the Ranger's hat. I'm gonna go with the chains. I'm gonna mark the chains because he's specifically thinking about Miss Stackpole, the wealthiest person in El Paso. Like he's thinking about how to protect her and her like bank account. And so his chains of greed is what I'm marking basically. Because he's thinking that if we can get through this with her alive, she'll be indebted to us. And put some doilies over there.
I love it.
All right, so and you said with reason, okay.
Yes, sir.
Well. That's the 2, 11, 12.
12. Okay. Now, because we're not doing mastermind clues anymore, because we're tweaking the rules of the game slightly, I will say that, well, I'm going to give you a mastermind clue, but I'm going to fuck around with this and just say that it counts as a clue for the Siege of El Paso.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Because I think that sounds funky and fun. We're getting real loose with the mechanics today. I will say down here, and by the way, I just want to comment out of game for a moment. I love the little siege clue list because it's extremely thematically like correct of just like you say I'm looking for this thing, and usually there's a clue on here. It's like, yeah, that's a thing on there. So indeed, a clue you find is in the tunnels beneath El Paso. You find leftover materials for a barricade. And as for your mastermind clue, that will count as a clue for the siege. Take a look here. We've gotten a few of these already. And I don't want to double up on any of them. Oh, I think this is interesting. I think you like find like an old. Actually, let me ask you this real quick. Has Diamond Dave and Lola prior to this like been the sole owners of the Red Rock? It's like their business they opened in town. Is that what the idea?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, then let me take a look at this. I want to change my idea. I think I'll abstract this is that just throughout like all of your like bustling through here with like Marcus in tow, Alan helping out, and above the ground where the dancing girls are all freaking out too, and things are looking pretty dire. Like given all of the situation in El Paso, like people are beginning to talk again about the old stories of a black train that is full of the dead. That counts as a mastermind clue. It's kind of like being discussed in the background, like an omen, and I'll let that count as a clue for the siege here as well, for the sake of this. Graves, where do you go to make contact with war, or at least try?
So I'm actually back at my house and I am cleaning those spring-loaded derringers. And as we pan into the scene, you hear him humming the battle hymn of the Republic.
Oh, this is incredible.
Yes.
I want you to roll with sensitivity. I'm going to give you a disadvantage from an omen of the Vrykalakas.
Ooh.
My justification for that is because we haven't really had this come up very often, is like one of those, how do I phrase this? It's like something, especially with the appearance of Zechariah Whately, it's like something is amiss in El Paso, and was this by design? Like there's a confluence of forces beyond knowing.
That's fucking amazing. I love it. Okay.
Also because you haven't been able to quite shake the feeling that somewhere in this town is the devil in hiding.
Yes. Oh my God. Well, if I can't talk to war, I guess I'll talk to the devil. Okay, that is I'm rolling with sensitivity. That is a 7 plus 3. That's a 10.
Fuck me. Okay, so on a 10 plus, you get to pick 2 from the list when to ask your sibling. So pick 2 from that list.
I obviously would like the answer in the form of a clue, but
Naturally.
I would also like to temporarily share in their domain because this is a siege and this is war.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to have like a future advantage on a role associated with this domain.
Now, as you may note, you did not select this act does not draw unwanted attention.
I did not.
You are in your home, rather in the home of Bartholomew Graves.
Yes.
Which you have come to live in for some time now, humming the battle hymn of the Republic and channeling your will to call war upon you. After a moment, there is a familiar smell rising in the air, coppery, slightly laced with ozone, the smell of bloodshed and a future promise of violence. But it's not just the smell. Like there's literally like dark clouds rolling over El Paso here in the daytime, and not subtle at all. A bolt of lightning discharges from the sky, shattering through Bartholomew Graves' house, like setting it aflame. And standing upon the impact, now roiling with heat and fire, you see War in his chosen form. And he just very blithely says, "You rang."
I did. I believe we could use some of your assistance here.
Seems like you're in a bit of trouble there, friend.
The people here are, yes.
Since when did you concern yourself with the plight of the living?
Since I was trapped as one.
Oh, dearest sibling, there will be much bloodshed this evening. And you know me, I don't really take sides. Why should I weigh the scales one way or the other?
Consider it a favor, I think. Future bloodshed promised. You know I can deliver people to you.
Oh, I'd say of all our family, You stand the most steadfast by each of us. Death, the glue that holds us four together.
So, will you help me? I know you're experienced in sieges and warfare. How can this unprepared place survive?
He gives you a soft smirk. And again, like the fire has continued to spread. Bartholomew's house is like burning down from the
Oh,
lightning
yeah.
strike. Like,
And not unfazed.
And like the house is aflame and like smoldering. It's gathering a crowd outside. So outside, like from like the burning doorway, as people are like already chatting about like people are calling for like the fire brigade, like buckets of water being prepared to help burn everything down, when like striding out of the burning house is you and a person that no one in this has seen before, untouched by flame. I think your eyes are glowing as we've seen them do before, only now during the daytime. And I think War steps forward and like draws forth the pistol at his hip, like does not even with the flourish. There's no, it is just pure like purpose, not no frills on it whatsoever. And I think he holds the gun out and pointing at various people, like scanning over them. There's a bit of a panic as people freeze. He can't help but smile at this, but doesn't let the sights rest on any person, and instead points it off into the distance. And I'm just looking at my list of clues here. Hold on.
Yes, please do. I want you to know, like, as he does this, Graves just shakes its head. Like, this is something that it's seen before, this bullshit, and it's just like, of course.
He like scans. I think what I'll say is he like scans around like with the gun and all that, and he like stops on one person in particular. He like cocks his head, almost like he's scanning and reading into the hearts of each and every person he's looking at. And he saunters down from your burning house, his spurs, jangling against the dirt as he approaches. Let's see. He approaches none other than, like, as the crowd parts, Lady Antonia, who is like watching away, and he like lowers his gun slightly and he says, "Well, now, been a while." And then he does that thing where he like flips the gun around in his hand and holds out the butt of his pistol to Lady Antonia, and hands it over to her. And your clue is going to be that Lady Antonia is quite adept with firearms.
Fuck yes. Oh my
And then as Ward turns and walks back into the burning building, he looks over his shoulder to say, "Better make it a damn good show." And he disappears into the flames.
And just a hat tip and looks back at Lady Antonia and nods like expectantly, like,
let's take a quick 5.
Astounding.
So I'm going to say that in approximately 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to segue us into the dusk phase. So let's talk about any last actions, because we only got like one thing from each of y'all, really. I would love to see if there's anything else you would like to tackle before heading forward. Mother Ruth. And if there's any group activities as well, this is a time to declare them.
Yeah, so after praying, feeling that kind of fervor of like that, no matter what happens, I have done my part. I've done something that like I that needs to happen. Mother Ruth is now going to like go ahead and support the rest of the like her church members by like essentially wanting to set up like trying to set up like the church is an unassuming building. It is also a building that has elevation. There is a bell tower, there
Mm.
is a steeple, and everything like that. So essentially, uh, in the style of, it will not be of that because it is anachronistic. This was not made until 1915 or anything, and it was a recording or anything. But being inspired by 28 years later, Mother Ruth is going to start essentially spurting out Bible verses as if they were in a cadence and a time signature and a register that is involving of like putting on the full armor of God, mustering your spirit, you're going to war. There are people that are trying to like that kind of thing. Very, very like very fervent and everything like that. Um, but it is in the same cadence register of Boots by Rudyard Kipling. It's that very syncopated, like she's like directing people and like reminding of these things and going through and like trying to spread this word of God and touch this guidance of the Lord and touch as many people as possible to help them feel it as well.
I love it.
And hopefully use this place as a sniper's nest.
I'll get back to that. Dave, what about you?
I think we see this room is like spruced up, and there's a lot of lights and lanterns in here. And as Alan is like doing a lot of the heavy lifting, um, uh, Dom and Dave turns to Marcus and says, "Marcus, my darling, how did you? I've been meaning to ask you, how did you know to dig out all those ghost bullets from the Ghost Riders? How did you even know?
Mm.
How did you even think about that?"
Uh, well, it came to me. I thought it seemed like a good idea at the time.
We don't have many of those ghost bullets left. What else have you noticed for good ideas? Because now would be the time, Marcus.
Give me the information move with presence.
Trying to think about how I can work in the ranger hat. I can't. Well, that's okay. I got a 7.
Okay.
With presence makes it an 8.
Okay. Give you the clue, which is what else has he noticed?
Well, we have this corset.
I know,
No.
right? I think I'll say fuck it. I'll say that I think Marcus can show you uh some odds and ends that he's stumbled onto and collected, not really collected, I should say, just like found and kind of like keeping aside for a rainy day. It seems like whether these are from old Confederates that came through this area or something like that, hard to say, but it's a stockpile of a few more weapons that I think Marcus has actually. No, I'm gonna say I love the idea that Marcus has like from all the gentleman callers over like the years, like has revealed that he steals like little weapons from them, like a derringer from the boot or like a knife up the sleeve. Like he's made a collection of like
A
of like
bucket.
a little bucket of some weapons. A few more weapons have been added as a clue. Um, I love that. Graves, however, as part of your scene, because of everything that's entailed in what just happened, I'm gonna have to ask you that
Yes.
in the eyes of the township of El Paso, I'm gonna ask you to roll the night move because you
Okay.
drew a significant amount of unwanted attention.
So much.
Something drastic just happened. What are you afraid of happening here?
I'm afraid they won't trust me right now, and they really, really need to trust me right now.
Oh, I think it's worse than that. They're gonna panic and tear you apart. And they're gonna
Fuck
like
me.
mob you, thinking that you are a threat to their lives. You can do this with mm, how are you like before we do that, I should actually structure this. Like, seeing this in the eyes of the people, like knowing that they've witnessed something. What does Graves like do in the immediate aftermath?
I think Graves pauses, realizing after all this shit, it was just really focused on like getting shit. I was like, oh no. And there was this very like human, like, oh fuck look. Like I did an a critical oopsie, and is like very not super well trying to calm people down, like no need for alarm, sorry about that, my associate is and he's like looking back, war's abandoned him, like, and it's like doing this very like, I think there's like it's either a presence or like a composure role, I think probably, like trying or reason, I don't know, it's not me reasoning, I'm trying to reason with them
I would
to like
say,
choke them out.
yeah, I would say it's the same number, but just at least for the fiction of it, I think composure does make sense here. But I'm going to give you disadvantage from death touch because there
Of
is
course.
functionally something not right about you,
Oh yes. Absolutely.
especially once people start to get close to you.
I need my okay, that's a 9, and then I'm gonna okay, that's a 6.
Total of
Um,
6.
total of 6. I'm gonna have to mark a mask.
You sure? Unless, of course, well, yeah, that is to say, with a 6, I mean, the panic only rises. And I think you can see it in Lady Antonia's eyes that she does not like this outcome, but knows that it is simply a necessary evil. And she has other things to attend to in this town, to the more immediate concerns. She turns and walks away as people descend upon you. And the thing is, while they will claim the life of they will destroy this vessel and release you. In touching you, several of them will meet their end here too, dying in the street in a pile around graves at their center, curled up and bloodied as death is unshackled from this mortal plane once again.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite time for me to go. I got 3 more masks. Now we're about to have 2 more.
Do you want to
I'm
narrate
gonna
that now?
I can if you want.
I would
Or
like you
for
to.
all right. I have it partially written. We're gonna bullshit some. Um, so narrate a flashback to the first time you played a game with a human, so that they won, you spared their life. She's bold, this one. Many have begged, many have threatened. None have directly challenged me until now. She pulls out a handful of seeds and presses 12 little divots into the ground with her thumb. A game, she says. Play me. If I win, you spare my life. I have never played a game before. She offers to show me the rules. She speaks to me as if we're equals. Humans are clever little things. They devise all of these intricate rituals to keep me at bay, but they've never involved me so directly. So I agree. It's an interesting diversion. And for the first time in my long, long existence, I lose. And she scoops up the seeds. We both stand, and I do not take her hand. She places one seed in mine. I close my fingers around it, and I walk away alone for the first time in uncountable millennia.
Instead, what happens is that the eyes of the townspeople look upon you, awash with fear and confusion, but like a flock of sheep that are starving, they follow the shepherd they don't trust. And I'm going to, but in their eyes, they can tell that something they may have always known, or at least known since this began, but are now only beginning to like truly process themselves, that you are not the body you wear, that you are something else. And you have not all, and that Bartholomew Graves was not always this, but something happened to him. And so I'm going to give you the condition, the thing that was Bartholomew Graves.
Oh, that's good.
Lady Antonia walks up to you and she says, well, that was certainly a bit of a show.
Unfortunately, I didn't think you would participate. Do you have other tricks up your sleeve?
Oh, please. You know me well enough to know the answer to that already. And it's in her eyes now. She has joined in the confirmation, though. It's like in her eyes of like, oh yes, now she knows who you are.
Do I know who she is?
Oh, I think so.
Like more intimately than.
Oh, I think so.
Hell
because
yeah.
I think she looks at you and she steps closer to you and she says, "It has been a while, Thanatos."
Much too long.
We'll come back to this scene.
Using Christian names. Okay. Damn.
Mother Ruth, I'm going to ask you, unless you're invoking that the thing I gave you, and that you're just going to automatically clear that condition to declare a clue about the church steeple being a sharpshooting place. Oh no, okay, cool. I'm going to ask you to roll an information move with reason, if you'd be so kind, as you're trying to suss out how to best apply your church to the situation.
I'm going to be holding tight to that Texas Ranger badge that I just got.
Ooh.
Hopefully there's a little bit of like sense, like a little bit of like, there's a little bit of like, I prayed for absolution,
Sure,
but also
I like
a little reminder, but it's
Little
like, hopefully
token.
like that can inspire me to like think like a ranger, like
Yeah.
think about like, because she's not a soldier at all, but she's like, if
No.
I can put my mind in like the brain of like these Texas Rangers and stuff, and
Mhm.
like it's very recent. I'm gonna go ahead and roll with advantage.
I love it.
With reason. Okay. Okay, I'll take that. That's a 9.
A 9. I'm going to give it to you very straight, like, because again, it's on my list and it works with what you're saying. Church steeple is a high place for a sharpshooter.
Perfect.
There you go. Keep it nice and simple and mechanical. But for your complication, I'm going to give you a condition just to stack you up.
Okay.
I guess I should ask, like, how are you feeling in this, not just in the scene, but in the overall build up, the momentum of what's happening in El Paso?
I think there's no nervousness. There's no like steely like kind of focus or anything like that. There's a manic energy behind her eyes.
Oh yeah, you can take.
There's
the
like
condition,
a like
yeah.
It's all been building up to this.
Yeah, you can take the condition manic.
Because if we remember, dear listener, her husband was fucking killed in the Civil War.
Mm-hmm. Marshal Harrington.
Mm-hmm.
You've put the El Paso Times to work. The sun's getting low. What last act are you trying to prepare here before the siege begins?
I think this may be a little bit of a stretch, but I do know some of what the Reynolds have employed in their repertoire, because like I have noticed that old bounty hunter that was after me conveniently disappeared a while back. So I'm thinking maybe it's best to resolve some loose threads. So probably trying to figure out more about like what happened to this bounty hunter. That sort of thing.
Oh, very good. How would you go about doing so?
I think because it was like in that hotel where like we made that confrontation, I think I'm going to return there, ask about like just general like strange things that have been seen as of late, proper investigation type of thing, rather than preparing for the siege.
Understood. Okay. I'm going to give you a information move with reason as you investigate the hotel.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did you realize that you don't have a good stat for this?
Oh no. Yeah, I really don't have anything because I'm not really trying to intimidate folks or anything. This is logical, this is reasonable, and therefore I roll. That's a 4.
Hmm. I think as you're picking through the hotel looking for a lead, there's a groaning of floorboards behind you and a voice that says, "It is fascinating how the rat always takes the bait. I had assumed you would come here again." And you can turn around and see, armed to the teeth for the first time in a while, the bounty hunter in shadow, showing half of his decaying face, stepping out, wielding a shotgun, sawed off, point blank at you, hammer cocked back. And he says, "This is the end of the line, Jamie Little."
Christian names.
That is not my Christian name.
What do you do? Or I should say, it's the night move. What do you do?
I pull out my gun. It's not the old Marshall's Lamette revolver, but rather the pistol long shot. As much as you are convinced and you are wrong that I am Jamie Little, you really should go after it for the crimes that I've actually done, rather than the ones put upon me by this mistaken identity. But that doesn't matter. You go in the ground now.
What are you afraid of happening here?
I get shot dead here. Like, this is the end of the line.
Oh, it's worse than that. Because he intends full well to take you alive, actually, but not necessarily in one piece.
God, I really want to get kidnapped.
I will say, I'm going to give you an option here because because backing down would look like obviously trying to get away and trying a different approach, or I'm going to do something real fucking weird with the game for a second because it is in the game text. This is a thing that we talk about, that when a threat is made a servant of the mastermind, it can no longer be resolved, but its questions can still be answered. And in this case, the question of how you can prove your innocence still stands. Now, it won't resolve the threat and it removes the bounty hunter off the board because the bounty hunter has also been enlisted by the Reynolds and is helping them claim their bounty on the people of on the three witnesses. So it's enlisted and still a threat here. But in this moment, you have 3 clues from the bounty hunter, which means if you answer this question now instead, the bounty hunter will leave you alone and go back about his task of hunting the witnesses. He'll still be a threat, but he'll leave you alone. You have him, and if you use all the 3 clues you have, it's a -1. So it's either you have a couple of options how you want to proceed here.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna roll because like
Okay, love it.
Because
all right, this will be what weapon were you using?
I'm using the pistol long shot. That's the name of the pistol.
I think this is going because it's of how like close proximity you two are. It's gonna be vitality because this is a quick draw. Like you weren't you like he's drawn on you, you're not drawn on him. You need to be fast if you want to put him down. But you have no conditions, so
okay. Because I'm going to be marking that pistol, I'll take it with an advantage.
There you go.
That is a 10.
Oh my god! Tell us what happens. I mean, obviously, he'll come back at night, but he'll come. He resurrects as we've seen before, but
yeah, I think it is a pretty fast scene in which like I just like pull out like this pistol. The barrel is like a little bit longer than the Limmat revolver, and like I just shoot like his jaw off, and like he collapses to the ground disgracefully. I think we see like rapid cuts to me like effectively dragging out the body because like the hotel people are kind of mad that I shot someone in their hotel, and like I sort of just give them like an unmarked grave like out back and whatnot, thinking that God, this has got to be resolved. I proved my worth, right?
This fucking guy. Yeah, I dig it. Before we end the day phase, Graves.
Hello.
Yes. I wanted to check to see if there was anything you wanted to try and do. And you're conversing with Lady Antonia. I'm not sure if that was related to the scene, but I did promise everyone that they got like 2 endeavors they could pursue during the day. You consulted War and you still have some room here. I'm curious to see what you would want to do.
I think I would want to consult Lady Antonia directly and be like, we need your help with this. I already know you know shit. Who else? Like, help me gather a small standing army that understands the gravity of this situation. Because she's a good shot. She knows what I am. She knows what war is. She knows we're not just going to be fighting regular ass dudes.
Okay. Yeah, this doesn't fall under the domain of of cursed objects, so you won't get an extra clue on this.
Okay.
But I think I would like you to do the information move with presence, and I'm not going to give you disadvantage only because it's Lady Antonia and because I think you two have some history.
So
not often that you have someone who's lived literally quite as long as she has.
Literally. I was like looking at I was looking at my items to try to like have an advantage on this, and I'm like because like I have magic items that she might be interested in, but I'm not sure any of them are useful here unless someone has like some really fucking cool thing they have an idea for. I don't. So it's probably just gonna be flat roll with presence, and we're gonna see if I die again. Okay, that's a 7. Whoo, just right under the door.
Lady Antonia has a look across her and she says, "This town is full of people. This town is not full of an army. There are people here who will fight, but they are a drop in the bucket compared to what use we could find here." And a thought crosses her expression, and she looks quite uncertain about it, and she's not vocalizing it yet because she's kind of, You can see it in her eyes. She's like grappling with herself if whatever she's thinking is worth bringing up.
If there's any time to take chances, Lady Antonia, it's now.
She meets your eyes. She says, follow me. And taking a look at something real quick. So let me just like zoom out from this to kind of explain my bullshit here, because you get a complication.
I'm excited. Okay, I'm excited.
The complication is she is like, this is interesting. And I'm going to need Chaotic's opinions on this too.
Oh.
Because in Lady Antonia's understanding, she says that, well, not in her words, is that she knows or has at least assumed there is someone in this town who might be of use to us, but we need to let him out of his cell. And because this applies to a move Chaotic has, I don't want to firmly say like, because this, you know, this affects your character. I will say that if you're okay with it, Chaotic, this is a clue that the complication is being that I'm locking it behind a condition, not like a mechanical condition, along a like a thing that must be done. And the thing that must be done is you must release Del Sol from the prison. Doing so would remove the move from the Marshal. Marshal would no longer have access to the cellmate move. But Del Sol will be out. And it's worth noting, by the way, as for the move, is like Marshal Harrington has in the past repeatedly let him out of the cell, and he always comes back. So the idea, so it's not just like, oh, you open the door, and no one here can see him except for the Marshal Harrington. So there's a lot of like the fictional structuring around this of being like, effectively the letting, like Lady Antonia has her assumptions, and I'll vocalize it a bit more if we go this route. But it's like, if we do a thing, you will release Del Sol. It will cease to be a move for the Marshal because he no longer appears in the cell. He can still be consulted if he's around, but he's no longer going to be like, it will kind of change things. Yeah. What do you think, Chaotic?
Here's my sort of headcanon.
Okay.
Of like the Marshal's relationship to Del Sol.
Sure.
Like the Marshal will always let out Del Sol, but Del Sol always comes back. Del Sol for the Marshal is a grounding sensation. If Del Sol gets out permanently, I'm going to make the Marshal so much worse. So it depends on, do you want a menace? Because I'm ready to really make the Marshal unhinged.
Don't threaten me with a good time. I mean, that's okay. But that's just me. Don't listen to me only. You know I love mess.
Mother Ruth, Diamond Dave. You're muted.
Fuck it.
I mean,
fuck it. We ball.
If the only thing that's holding you together is an imaginary friend, you know.
Oh, okay. I guess we fuck it, we ball.
Fuck it, we ball.
We ball.
Okay. So the condition that needs to be met here is we're not going to role play this now. This will apply to the theory itself, and depending on it might have to come up in the thing. But the clue is that if released, Del Sol will help defend the town. And to you, to at least close out our day phase here, Graves, what Lady Antonia says after you coerce the answer from her. You just follow me, and she's leading you towards the marshal's office, towards the jail. There is that familiar smell or the familiar sensation, like the faintest wisp of brimstone on the air. And Lady Antonia says, I've held some suspicions now. Nothing I've yet been able to confirm. But I have reason to believe that through machinations that are well above my pay grade, the Wanderer has found his way here. He who walks has found his way to this place.
It's about time we had a chat.
And that'll close out the day phase. We go into the dusk. Now, we must answer this question. But before we do, Diamond Dave, you do have a move that triggers during the dusk phase. You have the saloon, so you need to choose either to gain a little memento, or rather give a memento to a hunter, or get a learn something interesting about an active threat, and I will either answer truthfully or in the form of a clue. You're muted.
I was just counting to see how many clues we had. We have 8. I think I'm gonna go because I like to keep Mother Ruth alive. I'm gonna go with the item, and it's gonna be a shotgun with the last of the ghost bullet pellets in it.
Oh, sick. All right, add that to your personal quarters, Mother Ruth.
Somebody wake up Mother Ruth.
You're good? Oh, you're muted. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, you can add a handful of ghost bullets, or you said shotgun shell. What'd you say?
Well, a shotgun just loaded with the last of the ghost bullets.
Okay, shotgun.
Like a blast.
Very fucking cool. Very fucking sick. All right. We are not going to paint the scene about the wounded knight on this evening. We're just going to get right into things. We need to answer the question, how can we defend the town of El Paso from attack? You guys have 8 clues. Let's review these. Agatha volunteers to spread information throughout the town. A really good spot for an ambush based on Agatha's notes. Leftover materials for a barricade in the tunnels. Tales of a black train full of the dead. Lady Antonia's adept at handguns. A few more weapons collected by Marcus. The church steeple is a place for a sharpshooter. And if Dull Soul is released, he will defend the town. Now, as a little peek behind the scenes, if you're unfamiliar with the outcomes of the siege, basically, no matter the result of you guys answering this question, Edward is going to hit the town with everything he's got. Outlaws, both living and dead. And so the way this works is on a 10 plus, the opportunity can be pursued in a straightforward and decisive way. You will mostly narrate your great success and will only trigger other moves if part of your plan is particularly risky. On a 7 to 9, the fight will be much tougher and will trigger various moves. On a miss, you lose. The 3 witnesses are captured and hung, and much of the town is dead and destroyed. So let's kick off using these clues. How can we defend the town of El Paso from attack?
I would like to start off with the train, because that seems like, to me, that's like the hardest one. And so I'd like to say that the train is how, because there's no train tracks to El Paso, but the train is what's going to like bring in the adversaries. Like,
it makes sense.
The train, like they're all going to come in on this train.
Edward is the conductor of the train of the dead, and it's going to stop in town and unleash.
Yeah.
Like, gotcha.
So that kind of puts them all like in a. We're not surrounded. They're coming in.
They come out of one spot. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's really good.
Excellent. I mean,
well, that's at least we know outlaws, both living and dead, will be coming. So we at least know that all of the dead will be coming from the train for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like the living won't be on that train.
Mm-hmm.
No. Go ahead, B.
May I suggest? So Lady Antonia is adept at handguns, and the church steeple is a sharp place for a sharpshooter. Like, is Lady Antonia a sniper? Like, because that feels in my heart.
I mean, she's a sniper, but are you talking about firearms?
She's a lady from England, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that would be suggesting that she's around hunting or skeet shooting often in her growing up and everything. And so, that makes sense.
Piper, I hardly know her.
Every time I think of like being a sharpshooter, just because media moments stick in my brain like glue. Anyone watch the Hulu adaptation of like the Stephen King, was it 11/22 like something 3, the time travel JFK story with James Franco?
What?
I thought Wes would have seen that at least, but I guess not.
What? Sorry. I'm just getting a string of text messages.
Oh no, it's all good. The Stephen King short story about time travel that James Franco did the series of 11/22/63.
11/22/63. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always think about the scene with who's the one that shot JFK?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald. Like of like doing like a loading the gun in record time and just goes sharpshooter, and he just like says that like in that scene. And then like hits the timer. I it's not what she's doing, but I'm just imagining the same like lock, stock, and barrel clipping for Lady Antonia. Yeah, you can totally say that Lady Antonia is going to be in the steeple and is going to be acting as like a sharpshooter for the town. That's insane. Okay, we're on a roll. Chaotic, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Agatha will get the word out to like get the most of the regular civilians down underground, because like the train is above ground. They're coming at this from above, so like that will give them some distance there. The leftover materials are like already in the tunnels, so like that doesn't need to be really too much of a hassle there. Just generally Marcus having extra weapons around, that's just pretty good resources, that sort of thing.
I kind of think like I don't know what's going up on top of El Paso, but down in the tunnels, I think with the like what Chaotic said about the barricades and the weapons, I think like down there's like a hornet's nest, like it's just going to be a hornet's nest down there. I like that.
And I think
I was also thinking that Diamond Dave is really only worried about Mrs. Stackpole and bring Doc Albers in case she gets the melancholy or something.
She gets another case of being a woman disease.
But I don't think he would be. I think he might even say something like, "Well, there's not enough room for Agatha down here." Let me check. No, we got because Miss Stackpole's got got a couple of her maids, so
oh my God,
there's just not enough room down here. I guess maybe try the church.
Mr. McMahan.
I think he would do that. But the really good spot for ambush might be where the train.
Well,
I don't know.
Is there like, so it's kind of caught, especially in Deadwood, but like other kind of Western media, is there like a work camp? Is there like a worker camp, like a railroad worker camp?
There is, yeah, where there, yeah, there is, yeah.
So
where the railhead's coming.
The railhead's coming. So kind of what we have here, because like with the church being like a good spot for a sharpshooter and everything like that, and like we know the dead's coming off of the train and everything, is what we can do is a little bit of like, let's get the parade route going. And so like we allow them to kind of just waltz into town and then like start like, and then like while they're waltzing into town, just start firing on them and pushing them towards that railroad camp. And so it's just a mass of tents and canvas and everything. And like it's disposable. Like there's no buildings or anything like that. And so we can like rig whatever we need to with no soul or anything. Like if there's any it can become like a killing field, essentially. There's no cover. It's just canvas tents. So bullets are just gonna go right through it. So even if they're trying to take cover, it's scarce. It's scarce cover.
Yeah.
Scarce. Sorry.
No, yeah, you're good.
I had a Matthew Mercer sigil moment.
Oh my God, what a mood all the time.
Oh God, me and professional recordings.
Okay, I dig it. Continue. Yeah.
And Del Sol.
I think that's your purview.
This is your
Marshall.
Del Sol, his nature is both grounding and sort of a wayward soul travel. He's very attached to El Paso currently. So he will know exactly when the Reynolds will arrive, so we will not be caught unawares about that. And I think just by the sheer ability of Del Sol with travel and whatnot, I think something just generally will just not turn out all right for them, trying to have the dead arrive into town aboard this train.
Okay.
I know it's very vague.
No,
but
it's very vague, but it gives me a lot of terror. I understand like what you're like loosely kind of going for with that. That uses 8 clues. This is a flat roll. No modifier. Who wants to roll?
1, 2, 3, not me.
I feel like I already rolled too many good rolls.
I will.
I think it's gonna have to be chaotic.
All right, Marshall. It's
Marshall,
your purview.
save us.
Marshall.
Wait.
What?
Yes.
What?
I'm hiding my
Can
dice.
I say that? Can I say the omen? Because I have that the guidance of the Lord condition. Can I say that the omen that looking at the? I can't because I was able to spend it to get a clue.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So I was gonna say,
and
like,
so can I say that the omen is that the tents? There's a like I saw like a lake of fire essentially over by the tents.
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
So, chaotic. Full disclosure.
Yeah.
Did you roll the dice?
I did roll the dice.
Fuck. Okay, never mind.
I have not looked at the dice, but I have rolled them.
They rolled.
They rolled. And
they rolled.
So sorry. The thing
I just remembered.
What I will say, just to be fair, just in the interest of not wasting mechanic, is that we can reframe that. Like, I'm going to reframe the mechanics on that one, which is since you missed that window, it can still be cleared at any time to gain advantage on a roll via an omen from God.
Got it. All right.
That's so Raven during the siege.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. The dice were rolled. Chaotic's gonna look at them. It's a +0.
It wouldn't have mattered anyway. That would have been a 5. It's 5 currently.
On a 5, you lose. The 3 witnesses are captured and hung, and much of the town is dead and destroyed. Now, you will note, this is not a campaign-ending thing. This is merely like just a major loss. Now, when we go into the night phase, I'm taking a little inspiration from how Night of the Bone Wolves works, which is to say that it's like we're going to have our night phase is going to be effectively some rolls to fucking survive the siege. But in the actual frame of the narrative, you've already lost. Like, things are going to, like, Agatha, Doc Albers, and Alma Stackpole will be hung. Many people are going to lose their lives here. Many parts of El Paso will have been destroyed. And it's just a matter of if the Vigilance Committee makes it through the night. If you all mark a mask, because there's not a prompt for this one. If you all mark a mask, you can bump it up to a 7 to 9, but it will be a tough fight.
Mother Ruth.
Let's fucking do it. Let's do it. I'll have 1 mask left. Let's fucking do it, dude. Like, we're at the end of the campaign, brother. Like, this is what it's for, man. Let's do it.
I'm down.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm marking the blood-soaked portal right now.
Oh shit!
Are you actually?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Why not?
You have 1 other Mask of the Past.
Yeah,
you crazy bitch. That's wild.
Fuck it. Call it.
An alternative, we could do the Terminator. We're in one of the Terminator spinoff movies. Where we're El Paso, and we've got Diamond Dave has like black camo on his face. He's like fighting like zombies. We could do that too.
You know what's interesting? Just something's occurring to me, and because like this, because it's not mechanically stated, but it feels like this is technically a loophole because you're not pious, and if you would be struck dead, it doesn't say anything about the blood-soaked portal, but the blood-soaked portal kills you, destroys you. You were struck dead, so it's like effectively. I think that you could use Fallen, like by invoking the Blood-Soaked Portal, instead of marking the Blood-Soaked Portal, you invoke a Fallen. But here's the complicated thing, right? You would take a fourth condition, thus forcing you to mark a mask anyway. So it's like it's like by choosing to mark the Blood-Soaked Portal, you don't mark the Blood-Soaked Portal. You mark Fallen, but then you have to take a fourth condition, so you'd be forced to mark a mask again anyway. So you'd either mark the Blood-Soaked Portal again or your last mask of the past. So effectively, if you just want Mother Ruth to fucking go out here,
I feel like it's the perfect. This is not me like trying to sneak in with a new character or anything. I feel like it's the perfect night for Mother Cal. It's kind of been building to where it's
I kind of agree. I do
go
agree.
out
You're
like
so
a G.
right.
Like she's manic. She's most beloved. She's fucking She's got the full armor of God on her side.
I fully agree.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's so
if
cool.
you want to mark the Blood-Soaked, if everyone's marking a mask to bump up the result here,
Yes.
mark the Blood-Soaked Portal, Mother Calvo. Holy shit.
And it also just says narrate a scene where you're physically destroyed. This character is now retired. I never do it where it's immediate in my games. Personally.
No.
It's always, I just have to do it by the end of the phase. You have to do it. I give the
Yep.
perfect. Okay. Like a drama. You can drop dead anytime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can drop dead anytime. Okay, Graves, what mask are you going to
Let me go through that gameplay loop real quick. I come back.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
Oh, you don't need to mark the last mask of the past, Mother Ruth.
Yeah, gameplay loop.
Yeah.
Oh, you are.
They want to do the gameplay loop.
Because now I'm fallen, so I'm coming back as pious, but I have a fourth condition, so I have to mark a pass. So we're getting the full range of backstory.
You're mad lad. Okay, then
Absolutely
you can replace
bananas.
you can replace Manic with pious.
Perfect.
That's fucking bananas. I'm marking narrative flashback to when you escorted an evil person to the spirit world. How did you show them disdain?
Okay, gotcha. I want these to come up in the siege.
Yeah, I have ideas.
Diamond Dave, what are you marking?
I'm marking one in the past where I narrate where the girl is working side by side with Diamond Dave. They notice Diamond Dave, but Diamond Dave does not notice her.
Understood. And Andrew, what are you marking?
I'm marking the darkened threshold because I was already planning on incorporating this into the night phase.
Okay.
So
That'll bump it up.
Oh my
We've done
god.
a 9. So the fight is much tougher and will trigger moves to be successful. So it's not even a guarantee that you will succeed. It's gonna be tough. But that's all she wrote on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I will ask, do we think we can do this in a tight structure, or should we save the actual night phase until next time? Because we are in like the last 30 minutes of session. I think we can be real fucking tight and efficient with it.
Yeah, I think we need to do it.
Either way.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Then we're gonna just fucking get into it. I'm not even gonna ask people to state what their hunters will be doing because we all know what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be defending the town. The unseen for tonight is riding the rails. Due to delays, a Pennsylvania-built steam locomotive gives a blast of its shrill whistle before lurching out of the station just as the sun is going down. It's heading north, pulling 12 luxury passenger cars. The first prompt will be for Daniel. The second is a paint the scene for everyone. The third is for Wes. And the fourth prompt will be for, let me see. Will be for B. I'll give Chaotic a little break here because they're about to be real fucking dramatic. So, Daniel, you get to kick off our night phase unseen on the first prompt. Carl, the train's fireman, has one job: shovel coal into the furnace of the steam engine. Carl has been shoveling for 30 minutes now. What creative way has Carl found to cope with the heat coming from the furnace?
He has strung up this who knows what color it used to be, but now it's blackened and it's a wet wool blanket, and we can see steam rising off this blanket but he keeps like throwing this sluice water on it to keep it wet, and it's keeping it steamy, but the wool and the wetness is blocking a lot of the heat.
The blood moon rises over El Paso as it has for this entire season, but something is more sanguine in its color. The more intense. A train whistle blows from deeper beyond, and a black locomotive riding not along rails, but the waters of the river itself, mist curling out from beneath it, fogging the banks, pulls up at the edge of El Paso. And the undead outlaws, ghostly figures, begin to disembark with a shrill, shrieking whistle coming from its top. North of town, a band of black-clad outlaws gallop in on horses, faces masked, guns raised, torches in the other hand. Mother Calvo, you are in your church, in your steeple. Lady Antonia next to you, the rifle in her arms, cradled. She examines it. She looks over at you and she says, my, warfare has certainly changed in the last few years, hasn't it?
You're telling me they used to line up like dignified gentlemen. Just line up and see what happens.
They used to fight each other in, well, melee matters, swords and old weapons of the hand to hand. Even back then, there was a dignity to an arrow, even a sling. This is so potent and powerful. It's brilliant, but I cannot help but mourn.
They're terrible things. And they make us have to make sacrifices to try to overcome them. She looks around. I apologize, you can't be more comfortable. And she notes, like, she looks around that, like, the pews don't have the cushions that they have on them, like the velvet cushions. And you can see that those are being used by some of the church people as they've, like, fastened them around their waists to hopefully stop bullets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just made sure my people were taking proper precautions.
You hear the whistle. Diamond Dave. Remind me where you had shacked up for this evening?
Down in the tunnels, guarding at least Miss Stackpole down in a in a spruced up dungeon.
The tunnel ahead is dark, and you kind of have fortified this space. As you stare off down the tunnel, hearing the whistle from the streets above, and begin to hear the galloping footsteps. What goes through your head as you stare into the dark?
I think he looks back at his crew, and they have all these makeshift weapons, and he's like, I don't like it. Let's just start shooting. Slowly, steady. Let's count your bullets. We don't have a lot. Let's just start randomly shooting down there in case somebody's sneaking up.
Marshal Harrington. Graves is approaching the jail alone. His eyes glow spectrally, the mark of death hovering upon him. Graves, the smell is potent. Your sense is clear. How can you tell, in whatever supernatural senses you want to employ, that your quarry is indeed tied to Marshal Harrington?
I think there's always like the flicker of the other realm for Graves, like even if it's just sort of a sense, a taste, a feeling on the skin. And there is this like very light line, almost like a thread, just for a blink between whatever is in the cell and where I know Marshal Harrington is, like a weird lifeline between them.
I think just to add on to that, I think anyone near Marshal Harrington can see that he's looking towards the jail as though something has gotten his hackles raised about that.
What do you do?
What do I do? Or what does Marshall Harrington do?
Either.
Oh, I'm walking right in. I'm gonna just open all the jail cells if I can't see who's in there.
Mhm.
We're
I
opening
think
that shit.
I think as we see the scene of Graves opening these jail cells, because I think that Marshall got up where he was like crouching down, waiting for the ambush to happen, and he's just in a sort of trance going to go to the jail. Something's going on. Something is trying to be taken from him.
Yeah, okay, in that case, we'll reverse the scene to say that you arrive to see Graves at the jail throwing open the cells, though Graves sees no one in them. You, of course, do. Let's go back to the unseen. This is a paint the scene for everyone. Inside the quality coach, passengers enjoy a high level of comfort. The entire interior is framed in Spanish cedar. What other signs of luxury fill the space?
Red velvet seat cushions riveted with fine gold buttons in the middle.
Black velvet curtains. It makes it look like when you're looking into the train, it looks like night.
Fancy lace doilies with little I lost the word for it. Little ceramic teacups. Porcelain.
A slight detail, but these sort of these golden buttons, the fine wood carved is all of a sun motif representing the rising sun on the western coast rather than the east, which is just a weird little detail.
Mother Ruth, when shit truly and properly begins to kick off, when the outlaws storm the town, both from the south and the north, and the trap is sprung, and bullets are ripping through the night, attacks are being made in the work camps, Lady Antonia from her position in the steeple popping off shots. For the adversaries, it becomes very fucking clear that there is a target of high value to take out in that steeple, that there is a sniper up there. And so you have a contingent of outlaws that are now racing towards the church. We see them, soldiers of a war that they very clearly lost on account of the fact that they are, in many parts, spectral, where they have had like limbs blown off by the war. There are ghostly appendages, and they ride approaching to storm the chapel. They are at the doors. They're ready to break in, and they're aiming to take out the sniper in the steeple. What do you do?
Oh God, these are just farmers and people and townspeople. But you know what they need? They need a good old-fashioned rousing up with a good old-fashioned sermon. And one last ride, everybody. Why not? Let's give a good old fucking fire and brimstone, an impassioned speech. Mother Calvo stands up as like Lady Antonia is shooting down from the steeple. Mother Calvo's been sitting and kind of like there's been like bullets like ricocheting off and like some are breaking in through the doors and everything. And she finally just steps up and she's like, enough. And she starts like talking to the people that are like firing out of windows and they're like not doing a very great job. And she says, no, no, You are not handling this with love. You need to love your enemies, and the Lord does not say with romance or with gentleness, but with mercy. You must give mercy to your enemies, and the only way to show them mercy is to take those bullets and embrace them with it. Those are not hunks of metal and lead. That is God's love firing from the tips of your bayonets. Give them peace, give them mercy, and put them down effectively and gently. And she's like got her hands raised and everything. And like you can probably see the candles brighten a little bit more in the place and everything.
I mean,
Very Paul Dano,
yeah.
There Will Be Blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works because they're ghosts, and mercy for them is putting them down.
Yeah.
I love it. You're gonna roll fire and brimstone. This is
Mhm.
presence or sensitivity. And I think honestly, the thing is like none of your conditions could reasonably apply disadvantage to this. Because they would only help you. Are you also clear? Are you going to clear Omen of the Lord to get advantage on this automatically? Or are you going to hold on to that?
No, I'm
Okay.
going to hold on to it for the last moment, but I am going to mark my switchblade plain crucifix because she's holding that out and she hits the button, and to show that she's serious, that she's very serious, she starts marking herself her own hands and holding up the like the blood flows through me like I am willing to
Do you
shed
start
blood for
like
this.
like
I'm
fucking
marking people with my
yeah.
own
Oh my
blood and
god. Like
everything.
flicking
Yep.
it on piles of ammunition, like
Yeah, and
blessing
like
it.
blessing it, like holy water, yes.
Oh my god, the
Like, and she's just like
blood.
cutting at herself and just like flicking it on
The
everything.
blood of the lost. Incredible. All
Hmm.
right, roll I mean honestly, sensitivity
Yeah,
for like sanctifying their weapons against the undead. Go ahead
yeah.
and roll with advantage. This is sick.
That's a 13, baby.
We'll come back to this. Diamond Dave, you hear chains rattling somewhere in the dark of the tunnel up ahead. Stepping down the tunnel is the bounty hunter. Um, you see that he has all of his weapons not out and just like on display, his shotgun, revolver, rifle, and he steps into the shadows or steps out of the shadows of the tunnel approaching, and he says, it's ghostly and is beginning to like reform slightly. Part of his jaw as he's saying like, good evening, sir. Conducting business. I will give you one chance to get out of the way. What do you do, Diamond Dave?
I don't know how many of his crew's down here, but there lots of the bar folk. And so he's like, yeah, we'll take that option. We'll go ahead and surrender. And then he just turns to his guys and says, "Open fire."
It's going to be the night move. I believe because Alan is technically the muscle and he is helping. I imagine that that's going to give you advantage on this. I'm going to say this is with. I say this is with composure. And I'm going to give you disadvantage from on your best behavior because I like the idea of like the bounty hunter like walking up and like seeing your ticks of if you're about to like misbehave before it happens, and he might quick draw on you. So you'll have a flat roll with composure. What are you afraid of happening here?
I'm afraid that he'll outgun us. That we've got all these little guns, and he's got like the big guns.
Yeah, it is worse than that because you alone will survive, but he will kill Alma in the process. He will drag her out to be hung with the others. Go ahead and roll.
Alrighty, +1. Well, I'll take it. An 8.
An 8. All right.
And I might bump that. I think I'll bump it up since
I was
I've
gonna
got.
say because in the ensuing gunfight, I was gonna have you take a few rounds. I was gonna actually have a have you take a condition. But if you're thinking if you're going to go ahead and bump it up, then
Yep.
go ahead and be holding on to your narration.
I will bump
Marshal
it up.
Harrington and Graves. I think you two need to have a little bit of a scene here.
I'm busy. I don't even look over at you.
What are you doing, Graves?
The necessary work. What are you doing? Get back out there.
Oh. I know what you are, but I'm not sure you understand what you're playing with.
If you know what I am, Marshal Harrington, then you should know I understand exactly what I'm doing.
Inside the cell, Del Sol, only visible to Marshal Harrington, is leaning against the bars, eyes flicking between the two of you, a faint wisp of a smile touching at his lips, like a bell at the ball being fought over by two men.
Of course he would.
Jesus Christ.
His eyes land on you, Harrington, and Del Sol doesn't say anything. He just looks to you, those eyes swirling with that strange lack of focus, but otherworldly quality they've always had, looking to you, wondering what you will do next.
What will I do next? I don't know what's going to happen when you open that spinal cell. Are you prepared for the consequences?
Are you prepared for the consequences if I don't?
All right. Fine. This is not a fight I can win.
No, it's not. Most people don't win fights against me. And if Marshal Harrington doesn't stop me, I just open that final cell.
Yeah, I think as like the Marshal turns away for you, like going to like his desk and whatnot, and like pulling out various things. Most of it pretty useless because it's like various things like an extra pair of gloves and whatnot, like a bandana and whatnot. Like he's preparing himself for whatever is going to happen.
You see, Graves opens the cell door, and Del Sol's just standing there looking at him, though Graves does not see Del Sol. He makes no motion to step out of the cell. He just kind of gives like a lazy roll of his shoulders and looks to you, Harrington, saying, "Oh, this is a most peculiar turn of events, but I think this gentleman's going to have a bit of a letdown. You have to be the one to let me out, Marshal. You have to be the one to let me in."
Of course I do. And I think the Marshal looks closer to like some of those rogues out there with like the bandana, with the gloves and whatnot. And I think like he will just push Graves aside. You asked for this. You want this.
I do.
Del Sol grabs you by the throat in a sudden jerking movement. Graves, you watch as Marshall just goes stiff and seems to convulse as his eyes roll back in his head and spasm. One hand on your throat, the other hand reaches into your mouth, distending your jaw deeper and possibly in as Del Sol begins to climb inside you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the night move with sensitivity. What are you afraid of happening here?
What I'm afraid is what I am already intending. I think the worst outcome though is still Del Sol doesn't get out of this cage, but rather Harrington ends up inside it.
Mm-hmm. It's worse than that. How? How is it worse than that?
That it can't get worse.
I know. I don't think it can get worse, honestly. I think that that you have permanently traded places where with the Del Sol, and you will forever be the prisoner here. Go ahead and roll sensitivity.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I think something that I have kept on me because of superstitions and whatnot. Because Del Sol, despite sometimes having altruistic purposes, is still very much a devil. And I do have the word of God on me.
You do. All right. Go ahead and roll.
Don't forget where you got that, all right? You hold on to it tight.
Mm-hmm. It was sensitivity. That's a 12.
Okay. We'll come back to this. Wes, the train moves at a steady 18 miles per hour and will take some time to reach its destination. What is special about the dinner served aboard the locomotive this evening as an attempt to placate the frustrated travelers?
Oh, typically there's a dining menu that is made for our exclusive first-class car guests, but because of the delays, it has been made available for everyone. There is going to be an amuse-bouche of fruits and nuts and dates allowed for every diner to be able to pick from. There will also be a coursed meal involving haricot vert beans, some very like what I can't think of polenta, the fancy grits. Some polenta that's made with prawns and gravy and scallops, and it's just highly excessive and just decadent. Are there are just like there's like a roast that's made and you're like the kitchen car is probably working overtime to put out this amount of roast and everything, and the piece de resistance is finally at the last moment a waiter will come by and take this special kind of like compote, this berry compote, and will flick it upon your plate and it looks like blood splatter hitting the entire plate, but it's like a sauce for it and everything. Polenta, porcelain, and puerco. Yeah, it's not roast. It's like a pork loin. It's like a rolled and roasted pork loin. Yeah.
The sound of gunshots ripples out across El Paso from the work camps where the main stage of the efforts is being held. But here on the fringes, the points of structural support, as it were, Mother Ruth, narrate what this scene looks like with your great success?
Yeah, there's that kind of like that just like melodic, fervent, that manic energy of like the sounds of gunfire and everything just echoing and ringing in Mother Ruth. And her thinking about that time before where she hid. She was covered. She was protected by somebody. And that was a mission. That was a sign from God. Um and finally, there is a yeah, there's just this moment of just she's realizing that there's no good like shots, there's no places for people to shoot, to be able to aim and everything like that. So she rushes and people are confused by what she's doing and she throws open the double doors of the church and she holds her hands up. Um and she's yelling fire, fire, and there's just a volley of rounds and you can see there's just like puffs of wafts of smoke coming out and she's silhouetted in form making like the signs of the cross in her whole entire body and that sanctified bullets that have been like blessed by her. It's not the normal just like burst of like muzzle fire. It's almost like there's gold like gold flakes coming out of the muskets and trailing behind these bullets. Um, as normally bullets would just pass through specters and ghosts and everything like that. But there's almost like when you shoot a bullet into water and it slows down and it drifts, when each bullet starts hitting each of these ghost spectral outlaws, it slows down and you can just see this gold flakes just burrowing and burning trails into the ghosts as they like start freezing in place and then slowly just chipping away and burning away until they're just nothing but dusts that's like just drifting past. um and then it's just cacophonous. It's like the finger of God bursting right from the doors of this church out into the street.
Diamond Dave, you also rolled quite well. You bumped it up. So you get to narrate your success as well.
I'm gonna do my two. I'm gonna do my two a twofer on my
Incredible.
flashbacks. So we see the girl with the sparkling eyes. She's much older now. She's probably late teens, early 20s, and she's clearly on a gambling boat, a Mississippi River gambling boat, and it's going out on its maiden voyage. And we see the guy, the boss gambler who's in charge of it all. He's assigning. They're setting up and get ready for their first voyage, and she sees a young Diamond Dave, and he's striking. He stands out, and uh, despite her beauty, she does not. Like all eyes are on Diamond Dave. And so as they're getting ready to leave, passengers are coming on, and the boss gambler, his last name's Crump. He's like he gives Diamond Dave. He looks over at the staff, and he gives Diamond Dave the special dice. You use these, Dave. See what you can do tonight. And Dave takes the special dice and has like a grin. And we go back and go to the future in the tunnel with the bounty hunter coming heavily armed, and we see that same grin on Diamond Dave's face as he kind of steps back. And behind him, we see Alan McDowell, who does not have a little gun that Marcus, got off his customers. Instead, it's like a big buffalo rifle, and the concussion from shooting it in such a small space kind of pushes Dave's head aside as it blasts this giant bullet down towards the bounty hunter and hits him square in the middle.
Marshall Harrington, you rolled a 13.
Mm-hmm.
So you go ahead and narrate, and I have thoughts about what your additional advantage or benefit may be. But first, I'll let you describe a little bit about what happens. You get narrative control here.
The form of Marshall Harrington does settle down, Graves. It does seem that there is a more heavier weight to Harrington, as though Something bigger has settled inside. This being size. They call you Graves, don't they?
Among other things.
Hmm.
What do they call you? I have my suspicions.
Oh. Oh, you're precious, Andrew. He calls me Del Sol.
Hmm.
Funny thing. Uh, he was partially right, though. You weren't ready for the consequences, but, well, we'll just get on by, won't we? Hmm?
We have no other choice.
No, they don't. Well, it's time for the train to arrive to El Paso and see what disembarks.
Here's your advantage. Y'all might balk at this a little bit. I'm going to give you 3 conditions in order, top to bottom. You will take the conditions: the one who wears the mask. You may clear any of these. Actually, all 3 of them, I should say. You can clear all 3 of them to take an immediate 12 plus on a roll. But I feel like this segues very nicely into your Darkened Threshold prompt. If you'd care to do this in broad.
Yeah, we see Harrington. No, not quite. That's not appropriate, is it? No, it's still Soul. Taking a look on this starry night, a little bit disappointed because, well, his return to the land of the living should have been on a bright sunny afternoon, but that doesn't matter. There are unwanted people here. The dead, they disembark on that ghostly train, and they really should get back on. I think as they step foot onto the dirt, I think Del Sol just raises a hand, and like it's almost as if the dirt, instead of it being cold desert sand and dirt, it is mud, it is murky, it is trying to swallow them back up and dispose of them back to hell. Maybe. Maybe someplace worse. Who knows where the dirt, the mud ends up at. Del Sol knows about the ancient places that still linger. And sometimes those are worse than what men can imagine.
In the unseen, our last prompt.
A group of go
go
ahead. Please, no.
A group of stowaways gathers on top of a luxury passenger car, either sitting or moving about in crouches. How is their meager meal more graciously had than the meal happening below?
The one above, and compared to the one below, is much friendlier. They're clearly all comrades. The people below, they have no fondness for each other. They have no love in their hearts for the other people on the train. But the people on top of the luxury passenger cars are holding each other's hands while they talk. They are saying prayers over their meals. They are sharing what little they have, because this is a small community. They are brethren. They are not wealthy strangers. Oh, you're muted.
The siege on El Paso is successfully defended against. It was a struggle. A lot of that work camp is just tatters, some flames. The outlaws will flee. The train disembarks. In the immediate aftermath of the repelled siege, I'd like each of you to give yourselves a short denouement here to say, as the dust settles, metaphorically or otherwise, what thoughts go through your head and how your night ends.
I have one. And it is also the narration for the Mask of the Past.
Perfect.
Because after the conversation with Del Sol and whatever Marshal Harrington is now, Graves went out into the fray, took off his gloves, and got to work with the more mortal outlaws. And now he stands as there are bodies in the streets of comrades and enemies. And he sees the faces of evil men and thinks back to actual evil that he has faced. These were just people. Like Mother Ruth said, they were just farmers. They were just citizens. But people like Edward and Isabella, he has escorted people like that to the spirit world. And he thinks back to one man whose death was too gentle for the anguish that he wrought. Because this is often the case with wicked men. But when he sees me, like they saw me, like they saw Del Sol, oh, when they see me, there is fear in their eyes for the first time. And I do nothing to quell it. I do not gently take their hand. I do not change my form into something comforting. I remain the stuff of their nightmares. I'm consequence. I'm death. And most importantly, I am insignificance.
Who's next?
I can do mine. We see Diamond Dave up in his pretty nice apartment above the dance hall, and he's got Miss Stackpole there and one of her maids, and he's explaining. We see him explaining to her because if you take a stagecoach out of here, they could ambush you on the roads. So that's out. That's flat out. Even if we go at night, they have powers far beyond those of us mortal men. So I think this was probably the best option for you is to stay here. We can bring some of your staff over. We can make room. I can have some of the dancers push over, and join up so that your staff can be here. And you have my word that we will protect you and your interest here in the El Paso moving forward. And we just see she's just sitting there probably nodding as he's like explaining how he's going to protect her.
Um, Once the smoke clears and the rabble is chased out, you can see the people of the church are cheering. They're congratulating one another, they're gathering their dead, but they're cheering, they're excited, they're exuberant, they won, they succeeded. And nobody can find Mother Ruth. Some of the church members start walking through the town streets. They don't see her. They walk to the camp. They don't see her. She's not over by the dance hall. She's not anywhere. And then we just see her walking along the road as dawn starts breaking through. And she stops and she looks over and she's covered in like scratch marks where she like her arm is covered in blood. And then you see that she's been shot multiple times and she's just kind of like raggedly walking and just has a dazed look. Her hair is disheveled. You can see the lines on her face. Her eyes are bloodshot. And then she looks over to her right and she sees there's like this field of like grain that's been like cut down a little bit. She starts walking towards it and walking through it and just like feeling like hearing the noise and her boots moving against the soil and the ground and her dress catching the edges of these grain stalks. And then she stops and she like collapses for a bit. She tries to get up, but she can't. So she rolls over on her back and she just looks up. And it's darkness, and you can still see stars. And they start slowly, as like the day's cresting over, you can see them, they start going out one by one, and the darkness gives way to light and blue. And then the camera focuses on her face, and she's crying, and there's like tears mixing with blood. And then it cuts back up, and it's completely blue with like white skies. And then you can hear some rustling, and you realize that the grain that's around, you can see it's drifting a little bit across the camera, and you see that it's no longer like yellow amber grain or anything. It's like green and flecks of like purple and white and pink and yellow. And the camera cuts back to her face, and she's young, and she's happy. She's blonde. She's got blue eyes. And she's in a tulip field. And she just smiles. And she laughs.
Close us out, Harrington.
In very stark contrast to that peaceful scene, I think with Graves finishing up his work, they also sees just the mass of bodies on the street, not really taking much care to step over them carefully, only just careful enough to not trip and fall. No need to get yourself messy over these matters. I think sort of coming out of like hideaways, there are some deputies, probably Deputy Dudley, because like he was told to like stay at the jail, but probably didn't listen. And like they're just trying to figure out like, is it over? Is it over? And I think also laughs. There is a final act to happen yet still. For the red moon will still bleed on. But we're getting close to the end now. Oh, El Paso's all right. We have much work to do, much productive work to do for those bodies on the streets, and we need to figure out who's who. A difficult task, to be sure. I think some of their faces have been removed. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just blood. I don't know. I'm not familiar with these types of things. I think they're trying to figure out, like, what's wrong with the marshal. Because the marshal, they try to like get the marshal to like sit down, maybe have a sip of glass of water, and then he just pulls out the patch. A funny thing, this says, I get to do what I want for this fair town of ours, and there's not much you can do about it. If I will ask for help, I will ask for help. And right now, I feel fantastic.
That'll bring our night phase to a close. We will just address the basics of the dawn phase just to go through questions real fast to mark those down. We will be doing stars and wishes off mic just because we are over time. But looking here at the questions, everyone answered a question. Everyone resolved a threat. As Mother Ruth has left us, she is no longer necessary to answer these. But for fun, Wes, did you have Mother Ruth experience an echo in the night?
Yes.
2, the
Mhm.
velvet seats, and then the sauce spattering like
Mhm.
blood.
Very good.
I would also say like the bit of the sun motif there as well.
Yeah.
Graves, did you experience an echo in the night?
I tried to actually make one for Mother Ruth about the praying thing. So I don't think I actually experienced one.
I did not. I
But
don't think you did. No. But good on you for setting another one up. Did you punish a wayward soul by sending it back to the spirit realm?
I mean, I feel like that was sort of the whole siege, but I didn't have a scene doing it, so I'm not sure I'd count it.
Yeah, because you were mostly focused on efforts, not directly interfacing with it.
Yeah.
Did you take time to puzzle over the human condition?
I think it was the opposite of the human condition.
Yeah.
I think I was puzzling over other supernatural beings.
Inhuman
So
conditions.
no, inhuman
Okay.
conditions.
You take 2 XP. Diamond Dave, did you get an echo?
Yes, the doily from
Mhm.
from the dungeon to the fancy train.
Did you get your hands dirty to get the job done right?
Yes.
Yes, you did. And did you show favor to those above you or contempt for those beneath you?
Favor for those above me with Stackpool.
Yep. And Marshall, I was about to say Marshall Harrington. I should say Del Sol. Did you experience an echo?
Yes. The sort of an odd detail of the sun rising in the night comparison, effectively.
Did you deliver a cold monologue about the cruelty of justice?
In a weird way, yes. It's about how the people of this town have really no control over their lives, and it's down to the duty of one a particular individual of the sheriff.
And did
Which,
you abuse your badge to gain the upper hand?
Yes.
All right, mark all the XP. Like I said, that'll do it for session 20 of Near Enough to Hell, a Ghost of El Paso story. We will see everyone next time to see what comes next. Bye.